Hi, everyone, and welcome to Flume Stream Entertainment Network. This is Sports Talk with Matt and Brent. My name's Matt Buto. To my left is Brent Coble. Brent, we've had an outstanding season of coverage by Flume Media. Most recently, playoff games, preliminary games, were profile against Groveton for the girls and profile against Hinsdale for the boys. Let's start with the profile girls game. Outstanding.
Yeah, what a great game that was. Very impressed with Groveton, where they've come from in the past decade, I guess we can speak of. Talking to Coach LeClaire before the game, Groveton hasn't made a playoff appearance in at least that long, with the exception of the COVID year where everybody was in. So it was a great showing by her. Her first year coaching, she's certainly trying to change the tide around up there in Groveton.
You know, we covered the Groveton team. It was, I believe, the Groveton homecoming game, and we had this conversation earlier where it was a new coach, a coach that was passionate about the game, about really building a quality program, and I believe that was a Groveton win, 2-0. And you called it. You called a team that was going to be different, that was going to change. The outcome was 3-0, but we saw a much different Groveton team. We saw a better coached Groveton team, a Groveton team that we'll have to watch closely next year.
Sure, yeah, very young Groveton team as well, Matt, with the exception of a couple, and unfortunately for them, their keeper, Catherine Bushy, is a senior, but very young Groveton team. They don't play like they're young. They run through every ball. They're not afraid to mix it up with the other team. Yeah, definitely excited to watch them in the years to come.
Let's talk about Catherine Bushy. Again, profile win 3-0. That game could have easily been, 6, 7, 8-0. Had an outstanding game against a very difficult profile team. She's going to be missed, but tell me what you think about her in that game and what Groveton's going to lose in a keeper, because she was outstanding.
Yeah, she was absolutely outstanding. I remember seeing her, like you said, in the homecoming game, and I don't think she was at the level that she was at in that playoff game. I know Coach LeClaire talked to her about getting out of her net, and boy, did she ever. I mean, she was out there to cut off every situation that profile got into, beating the Groveton defense. Catherine was there to cut it off. I think they took 46 total shots
Yeah.
on her that day. 3 goals, roughly that's a 93, 95 save percentage, roughly in that
hmm
area. That's awesome. I mean, you can't, there's nothing on her, nothing she did wrong in that game. And like you said, I mean, it could have easily been 7 or 8-0. But, on the other side, Matt, Groveton had their chances. I remember the game was, Profile came out strong, and then Groveton had their turn, and they were peppering the net there for quite a while, and certainly had their chances to score.
Now, you had a conversation with both coaches after the game. I know in talking with Jack Bartlett, of course, proud of his team, but he also was able to point that out that, this is a 3-0 game. Groveton had their opportunities. We had to be careful. There were things that Groveton were doing out there that were awfully dangerous, and Coach Bartlett recognized that and kind of pointed out that was a Groveton team that, in the future is going to be even more difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you remember, I mean, it was only 1-0 at the half.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and, again, let's talk shots on net. I don't remember the exact number, but I know Profile must have had 24 shots on net in the first half. And again, Bushy's there. That's one. She's got 23 saves. One goes in. And on the other side, I believe Groveton put up 14 or 15 shots, maybe a little bit lower in the first half as they came out stronger in the second half. But again, like we say it all the time on air, Matt, one goal, if one of those balls goes in, we have a 1-1 game, it changes the tide of the game.
Absolutely, and a very good profile team beating a very good Groveton team. The common names when we're covering a profile game: Maya Brown, Berger, DiMaggio. There was one other player that we were talking about earlier, Fogarty,
Fogarty.
who actually wasn't a starter for that game. Came in, played an outstanding game. We'll talk more about the next game for profile. But what are your thoughts on Fogarty? I believe she's a sophomore. Played outstanding, and she ended up getting the next game. She ended up getting the start.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of an impact player, Matt. She's very, very aggressive, sometimes overly aggressive. And Coach Jack Bartlett will help her contain that a little bit. But she was all over the place. She's always putting pressure on the ball, putting pressure on the defenders. And as you said, we talk Maya Brown a lot. Can score from anywhere. Has got a nice, foot. She's very unselfish, as all those profile players are. And Berger up front is their point person.
Mm-hmm.
Every ball out of the back is looking for Berger to distribute the ball left or right to to Brown coming on, or
Kohler, McKenna
Kohler.
Price. Yeah.
In the middle there, Maddie Kohler, and I mean, again, they're young. They only roster a couple of seniors there, so they'll be back and strong again next year.
Now, before we go on to the boys' game, I want to get your thoughts quickly on Coach Jack Bartlett, and I know he's up 3-0, but he's also thinking about the next game. He's also strategizing. He's thinking about next year. And you pointed this out during the game. He used his bench and was very confident.
Oh, absolutely. And this is something I didn't know, but in Jack's preseason open to the local press and newspapers, and he had mentioned that he was going to play a lot of players and use his bench, and he certainly did. I mean, saving those players for the end of the game. If you're in a 0-0 game or a 1-0 game. We'll discuss that as
Sure.
The next segment here comes today. But I mean, that's awesome. You can get a break for your better players, and you're not losing much skill wise or continuity wise. Everything's staying kind of the same, and that's huge. I mean, it takes 11 players to roster the team, and you got 11 more behind that can play almost to the same level as the first one's coming out. That's a great problem to have.
You got a profile team there that we noticed that I believe that the profile team has enough players for a full JV team and a full varsity team. When you talk about feeder programs, those types of things, that's outstanding. But again, for that game, a very good profile girls team beat a very good Groveton, girls team 3-0. Next, we're back with the profile boys against Hinsdale. And again, the profile boys victor in that game, 3-0. What are your thoughts on that game?
Again, I believe that game was a 1-0 game to half.
Yeah.
Spoke to Coach Kilby in length before and after the game. He thought they played a lot better than they had the previous time we saw them, which was versus Gorham. I mean, profile was certainly ringing the bell on Hinsdale right from the beginning of the game. The pressure was on Hinsdale. Hinsdale did a good job to keep it at 1-0 for a long period of time before Colebrook. Profile was able to put in that second goal, and that second goal was scored on a player, I think Mullins, walking right through,
I believe so.
Picking the ball up right out of the goalie's hands. Really, the goalie hadn't contained the ball and knocking it in the net for the 2-0 lead. And then the third goal was a penalty kick. Scored by I forget who scored that third goal already, but it was number 20. Who did we say was that?
We've had so much coverage recently.
I know
a lot of names come through, but a goal off a PK.
Goal off a PK.
Yeah.
For the 3-0. Hinsdale didn't give up. I give Hinsdale credit. They came with a very short bench, and I don't think they subbed a lot in that game. They were pretty beat. But they never gave up. They played right till the final whistle. Again, talking about Coach Kilby, first-year coach, but
first year a long time though.
Yes, coming out of retirement after a 3-year hiatus, leaving the White Mountains Regional High School Spartans, who I believe he was there 33 plus seasons.
Oh, is that it? Huh.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Coach Kilby knows what he's doing, and he's it's not his first barbecue, so to speak.
No, I'm glad you brought that up, because I was talking with some fans when I was in Gorham for the Gorham Littleton game, and they said, "Yeah, is Doug Kilby back?" And I said, "Yeah." They couldn't believe he was back. Every person I talked to said that was a difference maker for that profile team.
Yeah, I don't remember the old coach. I think you were able to cover him.
Yeah,
last
he
year.
came over from the White Mountain School. Yes. Yeah.
It was good. It's good to see Doug out doing his thing. after the first time we saw him, he messaged me and he thanked us for the coverage, and he said to me, it's good to see you doing something you love to do. And I immediately turned the conversation back around on him and said,
Yeah.
no, really, Doug, it's good to see you
Yeah.
back out there yelling at kids. It gave me chills to hear your voice again, because it always used to be Brent,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
No, it's very good to see him out there, and it was awesome to see him win a playoff game. Come right out and get that first W under your belt and move on.
I wanted to talk with Coach Kilby real quick to get some scoop on you. I haven't had the opportunity to. I'm sure we'll run into each other, but that was again a very good profile boys team beat a very good Hinsdale team. Like you said, Hinsdale didn't have much of a bench. They were able to compete. They were able to keep up, but did lose that game 3-0. Brent, when we come back, we're going to review Flume Media's coverage of the quarterfinal games, which we covered those two 3-0 games. We were excited for playoff soccer, and then we get to those two games, and we'll get into it. But wow, excitement all around. Good soccer. When we get back, I'm going to hit Brent up for his thoughts on those games. You're watching Flume Stream Entertainment Network and Sports Talk with Matt and Brent. We'll be right back.
What does joy look like? At Santa's Village, it looks a lot like this. Visit a world of pure joy that's closer than you think, where it's always the season for smiles, for laughs, for family, for reindeer roller coasters and cookies. For a day packed with so much fun, you'll know exactly what joy looks like. Santa's Village, pure joy, family style.
Covering you at home, at work, and at play, George M. Stevens Insurance is the only local agency to offer personal and commercial insurance, as well as health, life, and financial services. With offices throughout the North Country, we service your complete insurance needs. As a trusted choice insurance agency, we research coverage options from the nation's top companies to ensure that your policy works for you. George M. Stevens Insurance, protecting New Hampshire and Vermont since 1882.
It's a perfect day.
Hi!
Why is there a bank in the woods?
We try to be wherever our customers need us. All your banking needs here for you. Wherever you are in life, we want you to start your adventure with the Sumsic Bank. That's why there's a bank in the woods.
Huh. Wait, isn't that?
Oh, great customer. Keeps a low profile.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Flume Stream Entertainment Network for Sports Talk with Matt and Brent. I'm Matt Buteau. This is Brent Colville. We're talking about soccer. We're talking about playoff soccer. But one thing I do want to point out, Brent, is you're looking awfully spiffy in your Flume Stream Entertainment shirt. These are relatively brand new. I'm not sure if I've taken mine off since Chad gave us those, but we're in uniform today. We have our shirts on. We have our khakis on. We're good to go.
Yeah, we didn't even discuss pants, but we must have been thinking the same thing this morning.
Oh, there's no doubt. So let's talk about quarterfinals. Again, we had the opportunity to cover outstanding games. Probably one of the best games that we've covered, but also a game with probably the most questions that we've covered was Profile hosting Woodsville. Woodsville wins on PKs. I want to get to the PKs, but let's talk about the game first. Let's start with Profile. What do you think?
Sure, lots of action. It was a game that went to PKs, but you got to remember it was 2 goals to 2 goals.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a 0-0 game going into PKs. Both profiles goals were set piece shots. One from Maya Brown and one from, was it Price, I believe?
I believe so.
And both nice shots into the upper 90 corners, either way, on either side of the field. And then you got Woodsville, I believe both goals were scored by Brianna Youngman, if I remember correctly, who's just a tenacious, I call her more of a defender. I know she plays a forward, but she's up on those defenders all game long, not allowing them to turn out of the defense, running through balls, keeping the pressure on the defense. And Woodsville's fast, Profile's fast. What a great game. I knew at the beginning of that game we weren't going to see a 1-0 game like it was previous in the year. I said it the whole game. We're going to see more goals. There's still going to be more goals. Unfortunately, neither team could get one more than the other during regulation.
Now, in talking with Coach Jack Bartlett, Jack wants to win all the time. He wanted this Woodsville team, a little bit of redemption. Profile played like they wanted to win, but on the other end, Woodsville played like they wanted to win. Ended up 2-2, and then we went into 2 10-minute overtimes.
Sure. Yep.
And I think momentum was probably. I think that was a game where the first 10 minutes was one team and the second 10 minutes was another team.
Absolutely. We discussed that on air. I think Woodsville took it to Profile in the first overtime, and then vice versa. Profile took it to Woodsville in the second overtime. Again, either team unlucky to score in one of those overtimes. Could very well have ended in overtime number 1 with Woodsville sneaking into goal, and again in overtime number 2, the second period, with Profile sneaking in a goal.
Now let's go to the PKs again, and we both said this a couple times. Not necessarily a game that you want to end in PKs. You want that game to either end in regular time or overtime. We went through 80 minutes of soccer, then we went through another 20 minutes of soccer, not able to do that. So then we get the PKs. Not ideal, but here we are.
Yeah, and I don't know how you go about fixing that, Matt. I know in any other sport, you don't go to anything special like that. You play until you determine a winner. I know soccer in the fall, we lose a lot of light early. That's why they push these playoff games to 3 o'clock. But me as a coach, I don't want to end a game in a situation like that. That's a lot of pressure, both on the kickers and the goalie more so. Whoever loses that game, that goalie's going home blaming herself. And then that's not the case. You're almost, it's a penalty kick to me is 75-25.
Yeah.
75 for the kicker, 25 for the goalie. The goalie, you're kind of at a disadvantage. I mean, you got to be flat-footed. You got to have your heels on the line until the ball's moved. So really, you're guessing.
Yeah.
Yeah. As I say, as a coach anywhere, nobody wants to see a game end like that. But for the purposes of ending games, the NHIAA has obviously had this procedure in place for quite some time.
Now, for the viewers watching, there was a little bit of confusion in the PKs, resulting in Woodsville thinking that they won, and perhaps everybody on the field was in agreement. And then, as good referees do, Matt Shannon and Tim Purrington take a couple minutes, step away from what's happening, get it right, and say, we're not done this game yet.
Yeah, and they took the brunt of that because that was their fault. They had actually declared the game over, and we were only in the beginning of round 4.
Yeah.
So it was a 3-1 scoring. Woodsville was up 3-1 at that point after 3 rounds. And I think they both did some quick math in their heads and said, oh, well, they can't tie it, so the game's over. When in all reality, they still had 2 more kicks.
They did.
So they could very well have tied it. And it comes down to Profile comes out and scores, makes it 3-2. And then Woodsville missed a kick. And then Profile scores again and ties it at 3-3. So it really is sudden death, sudden death, sudden death.
Yeah.
Woodsville's got their 5th kicker and their last kicker, and she happened to score to make the PKs go 4-3.
And Woodsville wins those PKs. Woodsville wins the game. I really like what Coach Jack Bartlett said at the end, especially about the confusion, saying, you know what, refs fixed it, and the very next kick was an outstanding save
Sure.
by Presby
Yeah.
to keep them in that game.
Absolutely. And then the very next player after that had to score to keep the game going, which was, I believe, Maya Brown.
I believe so.
Put it up in the upper left 90. And like I said, it tied the game 3-3. Woodsville's only got one lone kicker left.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of pressure on that one lone kicker, but again, a lot of pressure on Presby. And she did happen to score. I don't remember who the fifth kicker for Woodsville was, but she put it away pretty well.
Now, Woodsville comes away with a win. Again, not ideal. PKs. We could have that conversation. You and I could probably have it for hours, but Woodsville's the winner. We can talk about them, but again, Flume Media offering post-game coverage, post-game interviews with you. You spent some time with Jack Bartlett, and I believe his two grandkids.
Two grandsons.
You
Granddaughter, grandson.
Jack's always been good to us. Profile's been good to us. I don't know, man, but in your conversation, what I could hear in his voice was, I'm planning already for 2023.
Sure, his season ended about 3 minutes prior.
Yep.
He hadn't yet spoken to his team, as we like to grab him real quick. But he's already thinking and scheming about what he's going to do next year.
Yeah.
But you got a bunch of these girls coming back next year.
We do. We have all the girls that are returning are really super. It's going to be a big senior team next year. But don't underestimate next year's sophomores. The freshmen that I had 9 freshmen on the team this year, and they are solid players. And I'm bringing up a couple from 8th grade that are pretty impressive too. So we'll be back. You haven't seen the end of profile, trust me.
Never see the end of profile. Again, doesn't lose a lot of players going out this year. He said he will have a huge senior class next year. But, I mean, you got to put them on the top of the list for next year already, moving forward with all those young players. And as we talked about, he utilized a lot of those girls. So it's not like he's bringing back 7 or 8 girls that have a little bit of soccer skill. He's probably bringing back 13 or 14.
I think he mentioned his eighth.
And he's got 8th graders he was talking about coming up, So he's very excited, and that's always good for a coach. Speaking, from experience, hey, we may not win next year, we may not win in 2 years, but look at this group coming, and that, that keeps you going as a coach, is because some years can be pretty humbling, and, it's how public high school athletics go.
Now let's talk about Woodsville. Woodsville, the winners. Woodsville, an outstanding soccer team. They leave there with a win, wanted it just as bad as everybody else. I can't remember the coach's name.
Coach Lang, Sarah Lang.
Sarah Lang.
Again, let's before you even go into that, let's discuss all these first year coaches making all these playoff runs.
Yeah.
Coach Lang. I won't get into how old she is, but she's upper as of our age. And,
so she's young. That's good.
Yeah, so she's young, taking over the Woodsville program that she played for and won a championship back in, we'll just say, the mid-'90s. And she was very excited to take it over. Probably been on that waiting list for quite some years now. Yeah. And, no, what a great job she did. And she's certainly a player's coach. And I think you're seeing more coaches these days as players coaches and not like the old military style regime that probably you and I grew up with, which is nothing bad about that.
No.
It's a different world nowadays. And it's certainly nice to see these first year coaches having all this success.
And coaching the game correctly and effectively. Woodsville's new coach, new girls coach, Groveton new girls and boys coach. Colebrook, as far as I know, new boys coach, not a new girls coach. You can't go wrong. It's the future of the program. But then you look at profile boys, and you have Jack Bartlett and Doug Kilby,
both first year coaches.
Both first year coaches,
that
but
have coached
been doing
in
it
the
for a
past,
while.
Yeah.
But it's a nice combination of experience.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
And when you look at Kilby and you look at Bartlett, it's a different game. It's a different athlete that they're coaching. So they even have to adjust.
You have to adapt, and it's as I said, it's not the old regime. I learned from the old regime, but going up through, I knew there was a new tide of athlete, coming along here. It's some kids just you have to talk to a little bit more than others.
Sure. So that was a Woodsville win off of PKs. Congratulations to Woodsville. Chad Filling and I had the opportunity to go over to Gorham to host a battle over there, highly anticipated Gorham and Littleton game. Last time they played each other, Gorham pulled it off 5-2. The time before that, it was a 0-0 tie. Littleton looking for some redemption. I talked to both coaches at the same time, and they both wanted this game badly. Dave Backler did say that it was a tough Woodsville game they played, very physical Woodsville game, resulting in losing Cody Thibodeau-Lemieux, who, we'll talk more about the game, but that speed on defense was missing.
Yeah.
He had a tricep injury, I believe. I think his arm was out. One kid was going one way, he was going the other way. And then, talking with Luke Driscoll, it was, this is Gorham. Probably at least one of the better teams in the North Country. Probably, on paper, one of the best teams in the state. But you know what? We knew, I'm looking at Chad here, we knew that this wasn't going to be a 5-2 game.
Yep.
And so did Luke, and so did Dave Backler, really what it came down to. And from the whistle, Brent, and I want to get your thoughts on this because this is what impressed me about Driscoll, okay? He went into that game telling them, we have to play different, and we have to play with speed, and we have to keep up with Gorham.
I have that conversation with coaches all the time. There's a lot to be said by this is what we do, this is what we're going to do every time. You got to beat it. To me, I like to scheme. You're always thinking, you got to do something different. You're playing somebody for the third time in the season. Are you going to come out and play the same exact way you played all year?
You can't.
You can't.
Yeah.
You can't. You have to adjust. You have to make changes, whether it's this guy on moving from offense to defense or vice versa. You might have to mark some kids. You might take a player and sacrifice him. Hey, I don't care what you do in this game, as long as that kid doesn't get the ball at his feet and doesn't score. That's all I need you to do today. Don't worry about anything else. And from experience back in my day, that was a lot of that happened a lot of times. You'd always have an elite soccer player that you'd try to shut down. That's a little harder to do, talking about Gorham with the three guys up front with the two Saladino brothers and Backler and get the other guy's name.
Well, it's Connor Lemoyne, Cam Pake.
And again, those guys playing soccer together their whole lives. Is it too much soccer? Did they play too much soccer? Did they run out of gas in the quarterfinals? I don't think so, but you never know. It's I was unlucky not to be there. I had another engagement, but I really wanted to be there, and my heart was there, but I just couldn't.
I love the way that Coach Dave Backler coaches. I love the way that Luke Driscoll coaches. I think that when talking with Dave before, he said, you know what, when we played Newmarket last year, we started really high and, a lot of energy, maybe nerves. And he said, you know what, guys, let's play this game like we've been playing it all year. But I'm also thinking that playing the game that we've been playing all year hurt them because from the whistle, Littleton was all Joel B. Perez, Dre Akins, two players that were all over the place. What I liked what Driscoll did is, and Chad and I picked up on this, is his starting defense actually switched with the attacking offense. And the reason he did that, I'm guessing, is that Saladino speed.
Sure.
That Pake speed.
Sure,
you want to make sure your defenders can stay with him. They stayed with him the whole game. It was funny because I'm looking at my sheet saying he was playing defense. They switched, which was perfect. And I don't think, I think you have to anticipate JP, Joel B. Perez, but I don't think they anticipated Dre Akins.
Mm-hmm.
And every ball that went in the direction of Corrigan, the keeper for Gorham, somebody was always there. Somebody was always finishing. Somebody was always crashing the net. And as Chad said, this isn't going to be one of those games where it's certainly not going to be a high-scoring game. And it's not going to be a game where it's one of those clear, direct kicks and, in the corner of the net. It's probably going to be some kind of a bobble, some kind of a mistake. And that went in Littleton's favor because I'll tell you that Aiden Corrigan for Gorham had an outstanding game. Somebody's got to win. Thankfully, it ended in regular time for the passion that we have in the game. But it was a better little team Littleton team from the whistle.
Sure, and excuse me, as we've talked all year, and we talked about this when the playoffs happen, it's a new season, and it's one game. Throw everything else out. I don't care if we beat you 10-0 earlier in the season. It doesn't matter. It's coming down to today. Who is ready? Who wants this more today? And intensity, and that plays a huge factor, especially in the playoff game. Something I talked about Gorham all year. They back check for using a hockey term. They back check really well, which means, their forwards get back and play defense. And they're not just going to let you have time and space to go distribute the ball any way you want to. And I'm not sure if they did that well in that game or not. But that's something I would have paid attention to, just knowing how Gorham played all year long. With the speed they have, obviously Littleton matched it. But again, great hearing Coach Luke Driscoll did that with his defense and offense.
Change it up.
And I'm sure at that particular moment, the Gorham players are like, what the heck's going on here? And that right there just takes you out of your game. Maybe it's 2 seconds it takes you out, but that's 2 seconds that you have time to make a mistake.
Yep.
You're thinking about what's going on instead of playing the game.
And that's what you saw in Gorham. Not that Dave Backler couldn't or wouldn't, but they were playing their game. And Driscoll, it appears as though at some point said, we got to change it up a little bit. We got to watch Jack Saladino. We got to watch Brendan Saladino.
Sure.
We got to watch Paik. We got to watch Abe Backler. We got to watch Colin Lemoyne.
And we have to match their speed.
Yeah. And that's what they did. And it was one of those games where the ball went in. Yeah. And it wasn't this immaculate, it just went in. And Littleton wins. So congratulations to Littleton with a huge 1-0 win. With that being said, Brent, when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about what the rest of the playoffs will look like, how well represented the North Country teams are, talk a little bit about basketball, and finish up. So when we do come back, we'll have that for you. I'll get your thoughts. Stay tuned. We'll be back in a minute or two.
I used to think college was for other people, but after a lot of hard work and thanks to an incredible support system, now I know I'm exactly where I need to be.
Just like you means when I walk into the bank, I feel like home. I feel like this is home.
It's a family. It's just small like me, but it's good like me.
Just like you, I know I have the support of the bank, and my clients have the support of the bank. And to me, that just has extreme value.
Hi there, I'm Chuck Lloyd, president at White Mountains Community College, just talking to you a little bit about our college. We've been here since 1965. We've got 3 locations in Berlin, Littleton, and North Conway, and we're also online. We have a lot of technical programs, and we have a lot of online, remote, synchronous, asynchronous, whatever works best for your schedule. We are the only higher ed institution in New Hampshire above the notches. And what that means for us is we've got to be all things to all people. And we aim to try to do that by responding to workforce needs, industry and business, and partner locally with the needs of our communities. We could not be more excited to host new students coming in January.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Flume Stream Entertainment Network for Sports Talk with Matt and Brent. My name is Matt Buto. This is Brent Coble. Check out the new shirts. Brent, we have plenty of more soccer left. We have semifinals. We have finals. Let's start with semifinals first. Tonight, I believe, right?
Semifinals for the girls are tonight, yeah. You have number 6 Concord Christian taking on number 7 Portsmouth Christian. Obviously, the 2 and the 3 seeds got beat in the last round. And then the final game tonight under the lights is the 1 seed Newmarket versus the 5 seed Woodsville girls. Yeah, great. I mean, it's going to be a great semifinals tonight. Unfortunately, we can't be there because we're here doing this. But yeah, I'm looking forward to tuning in when we leave here.
I was on the Facebook, and not that I get a lot of my information on Facebook, but the Woodsville High School team, the Woodsville High School page mentioned that they are looking for redemption tonight. I believe they lost to Newmarket
In the finals.
in the
last
finals.
year, I
So
believe. Yeah.
there is some redemption there. Newmarket, excellent team, great coach. Woodsville, in my opinion, better.
Sure.
But we'll hope for a win for them. What's the scoop on the boys?
On the boys' side of things, their semifinals get rolling on Thursday night. Again, you got a 6-7 playing each other.
That's right.
Both North Country representatives, and unfortunately for the North Country, the way the brackets rolled and seeding where it was this year, they were all on one side.
Yeah.
You know, so it was pretty much a North Country bracket, and you're guaranteed to get a North Country team out of that when there's only North Country teams in it.
But only one, I guess.
But
right?
only one can come through. So, that'll be Woodsville and Littleton, and I believe I'm going to go down to that. And then you got the 1 seed Concord Christian, who I believe stayed undefeated all year, had a tie, maybe 2, versus the 4 seed Epping, who we covered down in Epping this year, where they took a defeat to Sunapee, 6-2. So again, I mean, you got 1-4 and 6-7. And on the girls' side, you got 1-5 and 6-7.
Yeah.
Those 6-7 seeds, you better watch out for them this year, I guess.
Exactly. So then we'll have the finals, and what we're hoping to do after the finals for our season finale and championship special for our sports talk show, we're hoping that we can get coaches to call in, and we can interview them. Of course, we're hoping to see some Woodsville coaches, if not 2 of them. But you
Or
and
the
I
Littleton coach, sure.
or the Littleton coach. I apologize. You and I will be covering that. We'll be doing a season finale. We'll be doing a championship game special. Looking forward to that as we wrap up the season of Sports Talk.
Yeah, that'll be next Tuesday, November the 8th. So be looking forward. Be looking for our little tabs going out on Facebook and whatnot, and we're going to try to get as many coaches as we can on the line, Matt.
And the coaches have been great. That they've been calling in, and I believe we had the girls Newmarket coach call in last year. Great soccer people. They love talking. They love talking soccer. So I'm looking forward to covering that. Again, good luck to all the teams playing.
Yep.
Especially good luck to the Woodsville boys and Woodsville girls and the Littleton boys. We have our season finale championship special for Sports Talk next Tuesday. And hoping to get some coaches to come in. And I got to mention, we have a very busy basketball season coming up, too.
Sure, very busy basketball season. Again, we were preliminarily talking about maybe doing a preseason open with Sports Talk on December 1st. Keep that date in mind. But the first scheduled basketball game is actually, you guys are going to come see me in Lisbon.
A Lisbon team.
Yeah, it'll be December 6th. We'll be hosting Profile that day. Fingers crossed. I'd love to get some press on down in Lisbon, and I'd love to have Flume Stream there, so you guys can pick on me during the game.
Well, I did hear the coach. Well, wait a minute, you coach the team. Never mind. At least we'll have a good post game.
Oh, absolutely. I'll be ready to talk.
Exactly. So yeah, basketball, of course. Jokingly, you're the Lisbon coach. A good coach, a coach that understands that this year is just as important as next year's. It's as important the year after that. So
yeah, it's all about building a program. I think a lot of coaches, not a lot, but some coaches get lost in the 1 year and that's it, and their heart's not in coaching. Coaching, you got to take the good with the bad, and again, we're coaching in public schools, and you want to build up the program, and for me, I want first grade girls excited to come to the varsity basketball games, and I want them when they get there to be just as excited and turn that over to helping those younger kids want that. Role model the expectations and the behavior of the program, and you will have a successful program.
Excellent words of wisdom from Coach Brent Colville. Well, folks, there you have it. We have had an exciting season with Bloom Media. We have one more Sports Talk season finale and championship special, rooting on all teams, especially the Woodsville teams and the Littleton team. For Brent Colville, my name is Matt Buteau. Chad Fillion and Adam Noyes behind the scenes. We're looking forward to more coverage. Soccer, basketball coming up. We'll see you soon.